so I don't care. I'm a daydreamer. My life is like a nightmare.
When me and Jez started off, we had a friend who was really good at mixing, and we would send him a beat, and we would be like all proud of him, and be like, "This is the worst sounding shit I ever," you know, be like the kick. It wasn't. He was very over dramatic, but sort of learning to really use EQ and the instruments to kind of create different pockets of like frequencies for things. So if I have a kick or a sound that really has a resonance, I'll go in with an EQ, and let's see if I have one here. I'll go in and make like a really tight cue like this, and bring the EQ all the way up, and kind of just sweep slowly until the resonance of that track pops out really loud. You'll hear when you hit it, and then I'll just pull that back so that it's not just like great. It's not overpowering the mix, and then I'll find, you know, pockets of frequencies that kind of enhance the sound. If it's a high one, you know, something around 7,000 might brighten it up, or bring up the air on the very top. But yeah, you know, I'll try and make sure that the kick and the bass, like if you have sub, like that you give room for the sub, and the kick and the sub aren't taking up the same place. I mean, ultimately, all of our placements get mixed by a pro anyways, but, you know, I think for sending out beats, you want to get them sounding as finished as possible, because, you know, artists and A&Rs, you don't want them to have to imagine what it could sound like. You know, it needs to sound ready to go. And the Zoe record, actually, we recorded here, and I mixed the whole track and the vocals here. So the thing that's out was all done right here, the whole top to bottom.
Awesome.
I mean, I just, like with the drums, you know, I usually start with my kick snares, and putting together a kit that has like some unique sounds to it that I can kind of play around with. Let me just see what we have here. So this region is just like the kick and the kind of clap. Let's see. Usually I'll kind of saturate stuff a little bit, distort it to bring it up. Kicks I might pitch down a little bit. Just pitch down too. I'll make sure that I have a tight envelope on it, because you don't want like a real sloppy kick that just kind of gets in the way of the mix. Compressor, I use the Waves compressor, Renaissance like compressors and EQs on everything. And then really it's just layering, you know, I like to just layer a lot of shit, and that's not much. So I have like an 808 snare in there, another clap. These 808 toms are kind of the main juice of the beat, and I'm running them out as separate aux where I have a guitar amp on them. Guitar amp plug-in to get that without it there a little bit. I have one going through a separate one, so I got more reverb on that. And the subby ones are a little more dry. Also really compressed and squashed, just to like get them really up front. And that's really, I mean, that's the drums on this one. Just to get, I think it's really important to get your kicks and your snares and everything just really as loud as you can. I think especially with like the way things are mixed now, like you want the rest of the beat to kind of sit in it or under it, and you don't want the drums to be, I don't know, like when I started off, the kick and the snare wasn't sort of the loudest thing, but you always kind of want that to really pop out and punch in your mixes, or else like it just won't sound hard and current. I also make sure I run like an L1 on the final mix, you know, just you gotta get the final mix sounding good and big and loud. So you know, but from there I'll go add some instruments. I mean, I think this one had piano on it, just some piano stabs, a layer of organ, which I also had some distortion guitar amp on. Then I use a lot of like orchestral stuff out of the East-West library. So this one is like a contra bassoon hits that I kind of layer with trombones a lot of time. It's oboes. some synth pad. I love I use this Mini Monster synth on a lot of tracks because it's kind of like it's like a Moog simulator. It gets really good kind of fake analog sounds. It's the top line, just a built-in Logic plug-in running through some guitar amp. And then I'll record. I think I recorded guitar on this. I have a Sans amp rack and just run my guitar straight in there. And use the built-in distortion and kind of get the sound as I'm going. Some sort of tight, plucky stuff. Live bass. I also ran through the Sans amp. So that's me just going just to like kind of add to the power of the snare. And then actually the high-pitched voices are me too. In the background doing some falsetto shit, which took me like hours because I'm pretty tone deaf, so that took a lot of editing and putting together to get that all. This is Matt Friedman, half of Illfonics, and you're watching NodFactor.com.